Welcome to the Transum podcast, a monthly roundup of the new features on the transum.org website, providing mathematical puzzles, games, learning activities, and the ever-popular mathematics lesson starter of the day. Here's your host, John Tranter.
Welcome to 137. Yes, this is podcast number 137 for the month of April 2026. And it begins, in its customary fashion, with the puzzle of the month.
Quazmere Quadrant has straight edges of length 24 metres. Inside the quadrant, an orange orchard is shaped like a semicircle, with its diameter lying along one of the quadrant's straight edges and of the same length. What would be the maximum possible radius of the green glade, which is also a semicircle with its diameter along the other straight edge of the quadrant, if it touches, but does not overlap, the orange orchard?
That's the Transum puzzle for this month. The challenge is set, have a think, make a plan. You have 1 month to figure it out. Send in your solution as soon as you can.
Yes, definitely drop me an email if you do get a solution, or your students do. Send an email to podcast@transum.org. That would be great. Thanks. Now, I've always been a fan of having a jolly April Fool's Day joke for my maths classes on the first day of April. And this I came across a week or so ago. It's my idea for this year's prank that you can use. Well, with a very straight face and serious tone, tell your student that something new has been realized in the world of mathematics.
Mathematical researchers have recently discovered that when the ancient Anglicans designed the digits we use today, they did so by drawing shapes with a number of angles equal to the digit's value. For example, the digit 1 contains 1 angle, 2 contains 2 angles, and so on.
Now, if you go to the April 1st starter of the day and scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see these digits written out with the angles drawn in. And amazingly, the number 1 has 1 angle in it. The number 2, sort of written a bit more like a Z, has 2 angles in it. And then the number 3, like a backward sigma sign, has got 3 angles in it, and so on. So, you could convince your class that that's how the numbers were devised by the ancient Anglicans, goodness me. But do make sure that you do, in the end, at some point, reveal that it is fake news, it's a joke, it's a fool, and you have to do that by the end of the morning. Yep, 12 o'clock is the deadline, 12 noon is the deadline for April Fool's jokes. Well, that's the tradition we always had anyway, so maybe you could have fun with that.
The text version of this podcast can be found at transum.org/newsletter.
Right, so with that foolish fun taken care of, here are some of the key resources added to the Transum website during the last month. So a new activity called Changing Times is designed to give students plenty of practice. And when I say plenty of practice, there are 100 questions spread over 8 levels. It's designed to give them practice converting between units of time. So it starts off reassuringly simple with seconds, minutes and hours, and then gets its claws in with trickier combinations and formats that tend to trip people up in exams. So, just like most of the other activities, it's self-marking, and unlike most of the other activities, there are lots of optional tips on post-it style notes that pop up if you click on a question mark. And it also is very insistent on not just the number being typed in, but the units as well. So if you have students, don't we all, who forget to write the units after their answer, this exercise might be a good bit of practice for them. Now, the links to all the things I'm talking about in this podcast can be found at transum.org/newsletter. Another new activity called Term to Term, and it gives students practice with sequences built from a recurrence relation, where each term is found from the one or sometimes the two before. So it starts simply and then becomes a little more thought-provoking, helping learners get used to the ideas and, I guess, familiar with the terms, first term, previous term, subsequent term, things like that. So they also have to be able to spot patterns and follow the logic of a sequence step by step.
You can find Transum Mathematics at www.transum.org.
Now, the next activity is actually only for Transum subscribers. It's a little activity where they have to click on bubbles containing the names of different age groups or parts of the curriculum. And it's a quick activity that will take about 15 seconds so that I can get to know better exactly what the subscribers are teaching so that I can develop activities that are more suited to them. And if you're not a subscriber, there's no better time like the present. So the details are on the website for how to sign up as a Transum subscriber. Now, last month maybe I'm a bit slow in this, but I uploaded all the previous 136 episodes of this podcast to YouTube, which may sound a little strange because isn't YouTube for videos? Well, yeah, that's what I always thought, but apparently it's the thing to do these days. Put your audio podcasts on YouTube and the listeners can listen to the podcast while staring at a static picture because there's no video with it. Well, I thought I'd give it a try, and in fact you may be listening on YouTube right now. So that's a bit meta, or is it recursive? No. Anyway, hope you're enjoying it. Now, I remember a long time ago when I was doing my A-level maths, further maths and physics. What a combination. Not very broad and balanced, but there you go. And I had to carry around a well-worn set of log tables. Oh, and a slide rule. And it was around that time when calculators were slowly starting to become available. And this fact horrified some people who complained that these devices would ruin maths education if they found their way into the classroom. But, as we all know, maths education was not ruined, and pedagogy developed to incorporate calculators into the curriculum to great effect. Yes, I know, I was at the cutting edge, I would say, back in the early 80s. Well, maybe I missed the cutting edge, but I was not too far away from it. So I see history repeating itself in today's dilemma over the use of AI. Now, this podcast is not the place for a whole deep discussion on the skills and strategies that maths teachers might need to develop. If you want to know that, by the way, listen to Craig Barton's podcast, the Mr. Barton podcast. He has got a series on AI, which is very good. But I certainly think that teachers should make the most of this wonderful new resource and not let it pass them by. So, much has been said, I guess, and the question has been asked, particularly if you teach an advanced course, what about the negative side? Do you know how to tell whether a student's work is entirely their own work, or is it written by AI, or is it a blend of the two? And furthermore, under what circumstances is that use of AI beneficial to learning? So those are the big questions that I don't have the answer right here in this podcast. But reassuringly, I've just read an article written by a student at California Polytechnic. He has a very positive attitude from talking to his fellow students. In fact, doing a little bit of research with over 50 of his fellow students. And his argument is,
it's just become part of how students learn. They turn to it because they like having an always available, non-judgmental, infinitely patient tutor that can explain anything in the exact way they need. We learn by doing, and students understand that if you don't do it, you don't learn it. From my experience, it's obvious that most students are not using ChatGPT to get out of their work. They're using it to get further into it, to stay curious, to push past confusion, to spend more time on the parts that genuinely interest them.
So, have your students yet developed such a commendable attitude? And how confident are you that AI is being used responsibly and to great effect in your school? Sort of an open-ended question there. Oh, meanwhile, to give a little bit of a positive slant on this, right here on this very computer I'm looking at now, I've just asked Claude Cowork to read my collection of 1,484 A-level past papers, all in their own PDF file, and produce a beautifully formatted document categorizing the hidden quadratic questions. And it did. Absolutely amazing. And I've put a screenshot and a link to the actual document in the newsletter, because it's something that would have taken me, well, how long to look for hidden quadratic questions in 1,484 PDFs? I couldn't have done it. So, that's it. Positive slant there. And hopefully you don't find any spelling mistakes in the newsletter, because I used AI to check my spelling, grammar and punctuation. Okay, Easter Sunday falls on the 5th of April this year, so it's a good time to mention the collection of Easter-themed maths activities on Transom. There's a nice mixture of puzzles, logic activities, coordinate work, investigations, and seasonal challenges, all with a loose Easter connection. So they would be ideal for the last lesson of the term, but we might have missed that by now. But why not get the students to do them at home as some holiday work? Hopefully enjoyable holiday work. And if you send an email with the link to all of your students, even if only one student does some activities, that's better than zero. So yeah, give it a go, and don't get upset if every single person doesn't do every activity. Finally, the answer to last month's puzzle, which was...
A penguin starts to waddle from a sandcastle to the rocks on a beach, at the same time as a crab starts to scuttle from the same rocks, heading for the same sandcastle. They pass each other at 11 a.m, and the penguin reaches the rocks at 1 p.m, while the crab doesn't arrive at the sandcastle till 3:30 p.m. What time did the waddling and scuttling begin?
So the answer is 8 a.m. And I've got to say, there's a lovely range of methods in the comments at the bottom of the newsletter, transom.org/newsletter. So we have the really classic back of an envelope type solution, which really has character and arrives at the right answer in a very efficient way. We have some different ways of committing it to algebra. We have a way that, well, looks like it was produced and then checked with AI for grammar and spelling, like I do with the newsletter, because it's very nice, presented by a student from, I'm not sure where the student is from, but his teacher encouraged him to write out this solution and send it in with his hand-drawn diagram. And a fantastic timeline solution method from Leonard in the US. Something that, well, yeah, maybe we don't think of as being a good strategy or method of solving problems, but it's very pictorial and, yeah, very nice to have a look at the bottom of the newsletter.
Solved. The mystery ends. There's nothing too hard for Transom's great friends.
Thank you very much. really appreciate receiving all of those for the Puzzle of the Month. So that's all for now, apart from to say that if you eat chocolate eggs before or after the Easter holiday, you may be guilty of egg-strapolation. Ha ha ha.
Thank you for downloading and listening to the Transom podcast. You can find the website at www.transom.org, where you're welcome to use all of the activities absolutely free, or jump in with both feet and become a Transom subscriber.